I think many people would be surprised to learn how much of my work as a piano teacher involves helping people learn to drop back down into their bodies. And by that, I mean learning how to temporarily put aside their rational brains and learn to identify and accept the emotions that their bodies are trying to surface during that educational experience. The reason why I do this is because I want to help people learn to access their own internal navigation system. I want to help them become their own best teachers. Now, this may sound very strange coming from a piano teacher because typically in piano lessons, it's the teacher who sets the pace for each of the lessons. And many of my students, most of my students come in ready to learn, ready to do whatever I ask them to do, regardless of how boring or challenging their scales or these new songs feel. They're troopers. They come in and they've set aside their emotions and they're pure rational beings. They are ready to move on. But I find this to actually be a detrimental way of learning how to play piano. Because what ends up happening is when the teacher is the guide and sets the pace for the learning, what ends up happening is that the student comes to rely on that teacher to set the pace for their learning, and they never take any form of independence in their piano journey. They don't trust themselves to do anything without their piano teacher, and sadly, what tends to happen is that when people do end up quitting their piano lessons, that also marks the end of their ever learning new music because they've learned to rely on their teacher as a crutch. I never, ever want my students to rely on me to be able to learn new music. And so when I started teaching piano lessons online, I decided that the driving force behind my style of instruction was to help my students learn to access their own internal navigation system. And with that means having the courage to be honest about how you feel about a learning experience, how you feel about learning a song, how you feel about your homework that week. I don't want people to stuff away their emotions. I want to hear how they feel about it so that I can coach them through and work with their emotions and develop a learning path that is right for them.